what is black pepper? Black pepper is a berry. It comes in different flavors too, green, white, red, all from the same fruit. Out of all the spices, pepper is by far the most popular. It's so common that we take it for granted. The story of how peppers shaped the world is obscured by the sheer abundance of salt and pepper shakers in restaurants. Pepper is magically everywhere, but do we ever wonder where it originated from? Historically, pepper came from India into Europe. Europeans long considered India paradise itself, the land of spice and everything nice. But the story of the spice trade is anything but nice. The story of pepper is rife with war, greed, and colonialism. So here's my food for thought. How did pepper get from what Europeans considered paradise to almost every kitchen and restaurant today? Let's find out. The pepper plant is indigenous to the luscious green rainforest of Kerala. Although native in other parts of the world, it's on these shores, the Malabar Coast, that countless adventurers have come searching for tasty trade goods over the millennia. Sumerian records dating back to 3000 BC refer to Kerala as the Garden of Spices. Ancient Babylonians, Assyrians, and Egyptians were all attracted to these gardens over the years. By 600 BC, nomadic Arabs gained control of the spice trade and Arabia flourished. By the time Alexander the Great died, the legendary gardens also attracted Greeks who sailed all the way from their strategic foothold in Egypt. Rome, annexing Egypt, eventually took control of the spice trade. As time went on, Rome was attacked by barbarians, and guess what they wanted? Alaric, king of the Visigoths, laid siege to the city. He demanded 5,000 pounds of gold, 4,000 pounds of silver, and 3,000 pounds of pepper, or he'd sack the city. And when they produced his tribute, he sacked that city anyway. With the eventual fall of Rome, the Dark Ages slowly crept over Europe like a shadow. The knowledge of Kerala and its garden of spices slipped out of time and mind. And in order to protect their profits, Arab traders began telling stories about the dangerous nature of harvesting pepper. Myths of dragon-like serpents guarding the pepper trees circulated throughout Europe. It was said that only by burning down the trees could you extract the peppercorns, which also doubled as a convenient origin story, explaining the color of black pepper. Out of the dust of the fallen Roman Empire, Venice arose as a great naval power and soon controlled the Adriatic Sea. The Venetians were quick to dominate the distribution of pepper from Alexandria. With naval superiority, Venice positioned themselves as modern-day dropshippers, purchasing product from the Muslim-controlled Alexandria and reselling it on the European market. The price of pepper skyrocketed, and soon only the most wealthy were able to afford it. Pepper became a status symbol, a way for the rich to flaunt their wealth and affluence. It also doubled as a more stable form of currency than actual money. Could you imagine if these people had Instagram back in the day? They'd be showing off their sacks of pepper and spices on silver platters in fancy dining rooms, flashing chalices of wine soaked with fruits and spices, and snapping pics of their weird white people food. Let's take a look at a really strange recipe from the medieval ages. A cookbook from the 15th century gives the following directions for the preparation of meat. Cook a large piece of pork, not too lean and very tender. Chop it as fine as you wish. Add cloves and mace and continue chopping, also chopping in dried currants. Then shape into little round balls approximately 2 inches across and set aside in a bowl. Next, prepare a good almond milk. Mix in some rice and boil well, taking care that it stays very liquid. Sprinkle generously with sugar and mace and serve. The medieval ruling classes had a peculiar penchant for strongly seasoned dishes. The higher the rank of the household, the greater its use of spices. Today, we would see the dishes they were making and think it was Arabic Indian cuisine rather than any Western one. Prepared foods were virtually buried under spices. Food was little more than a vehicle for condiments, which were used in combinations we nowadays would consider quite bizarre. When Constantinople fell to the Ottomans in 1453, Venice's power subsequently waned. Portugal and Spain promptly assumed naval superiority. Spain sent Christopher Columbus to find India, but by way of the Atlantic, they found something we'd eventually call the Americas. In the midst of this discovery, the Dutch gained freedom from the Spanish, who went off to later form its own spice company. In the name of Portugal, Vasco da Gama set off to sail around the continent of Africa, searching for India and its fabled Garden of Spices. And in 1498, they landed on the shores of Kerala with his men shouting, "For Christ and spices!" Lisbon was soon to become one of the wealthiest cities in Europe. Over the years, the Dutch fought the Portuguese for dominance over the spice trade. After a 200-year monopoly, Britain came in and defeated the Dutch and colonized India. Pretty much game over for people trying to get control of the spice trade. Although the food game was still a little weird, with the rise of French cuisine in the 17th century, an end was put to the overspicing of dishes in the West, as seen in the medieval ages. With well-calibrated recipes and an emphasis on less is more, the price of pepper dropped dramatically with the decrease in demand. Even so, today's world still consumes as much black pepper as all the other spices combined. Pepper has surely been one of the most sought-after commodities for thousands of years, the undisputed king of spices. So do we wonder about this when we have a steak or a Caesar salad in front of us? So the next time you're at a restaurant and a server is cracking fresh pepper on your dish, think of all the struggle and strife pepper has had to go through to now be in our life.